pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call to order.
Kevin McGovern.
Present.
Ian Patterson.
Here.
Cal Ellis.
Here.
Frank Mott is ill. Ray Morrissey.
Here. Next item is the public comment. Each person is limited to 3 minutes. If I cut you off, it's not to be rude, it's just so that we can get to the business of the town. Also, I'd like to remind the public, this is your chance to speak. When we go through the items on the agenda, we may or may not call on the audience at our discretion. First, we have Doreen Casa.
Would you like to stand, Mr. President?
That's fine.
Right here. First of all, members of the council, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of a missing council person. It has come to my understanding that the Democratic Town Committee would like to oust probably one of the best people that I know. One of my best friends, and pardon me. And I would pretty much do anything for him. I would like to thank Kevin, Mr. Patterson, Mr. Morrissey for checking in on the missing town council person that is here. I find it appalling that the people that signed the letter to oust him, oh, one just walked in the door, should be extremely embarrassed of himself and the rest of the committee. I don't understand how you kick a man when he's down and been in the hospital for 5 months. He loves Exeter, he's done so much for this town, and for those letters to be sent asking for his resignation because it's against town charter, well, I'm sorry, that's wrong. If it was any of them that was down and out and in the hospital for 5.5 months, I'd be sending a card. I'd be asking how they're doing, and I'd be reaching out to the family, not trying to oust somebody that's been extremely sick. And I'm extremely disappointed, and I'm just hoping that the council will do what's right and keep that seat safe. Thank you.
Kathy Marr.
Thank you, Doreen. I'm going to read this because I'm not very good at public speaking. I did want to provide an update on my husband's condition. He's made it through a life-threatening situation, and he started his rehabilitation. He has lived up to his nickname, the Immortal, and he's made tremendous gains through a remarkable determination to regain what this illness has taken from him. He's been an inspiration to his doctors and nurses, who repeatedly tell me with tears swelling in their eyes how he has touched their profession and how they do their job every day. It's at this time that I would like to extend a huge thank you for Mr. Patterson, for all his encouragement, well wishes, and most of all, for plowing me out so I could visit Frank. Mr. Morrissey and Mr. McGovern, I thank you for being there with kind words and prayers, and they helped me through a difficult time to know I was not alone. With that being said, I'm a bit taken aback by the news that my husband's elected seat on the council is being threatened. It sickens and it saddens me that some would do this. Frank, since we've moved to Exeter, has been extremely involved in the well-being of this town. He's coached several sports teams, served on the school committee, reached out to residents during the floods. He served on the Senate. Those are just a few. He's always been there for the town, and the people who voted know that, and they wanted him to be on the town council. In my heart, I know that the good citizens of Exeter understand his health challenges and how Frank's missed meetings can be understood with compassion. I would like to think that the callous and the pure ugliness of what has been brought to my attention is felt by few in the town of Exeter. I know that Frank Marr has always put the well-being of this town in his intentions, and I can only hope that the town feels the same way about him.
Next, we do have Mary, is it Zick?
Zick.
Zick?
Hi, my name is Mary Zick. I'm a resident of Exeter. and I'm here tonight to ask the town council to reconsider, review public safety services in the town of Exeter, especially in light of the recent violent criminal activity which occurred in the Cedar Grove neighborhood. One was a burglary where they cleaned out the house. The other one was a home invasion where the residents were in the house. This is very frightening to all of us. Right now, Exeter is served by a town constable who makes some patrols. It's also served by the Rhode Island State Police, and they respond after a crime has occurred, and they come from either the Wickford Barracks or from the Richmond Barracks. Through no fault of their own, especially during the nighttime hours, there may be a delay in response once a crime occurs. And this is very scary, especially in my neighborhood, which is Cedar Grove. I would ask that the council consider a more proactive response to public safety in the town. This could include regular patrols. It could include a contract with the state police to station a car here, a 24-hour car. And also I would ask that you have an ongoing statistical tracking of criminal activity in the town, within the borders of the town of Exeter, so that we can know what the state of criminal activity is. I wrote a letter, but I'm here tonight because I wanted to demonstrate the seriousness of the concerns of myself and my neighbors. And I would ask that the town council deliver a timely approach and action in this matter, and I thank you for listening.
Diane Allen?
Hi, I'm here just talking as a private citizen, and as a former owner of a small business who employed a lot of people, and we've had people get sick over the years, and we don't fire people. It's kind of against the law in the private industry, and there are a lot of rules protecting people, especially employees and employers, which the town is an employer also. We have to respect those laws, and there are a lot of them to protect individuals who are out on extended leave.
Senator Morgan?
I want to thank you, Council President, and council members for having this discussion on a member who has been very ill. I'm here speaking on behalf, I'm the senator of the district, and as a friend who has mentored me immensely, there is a act called the Americans with Disabilities Act, which I think this is totally violating, and it's wrong. The person we're talking about has dedicated a lot of time, a lot of energy to nonprofits, to the town of Exeter, and I find it appalling that someone would call for a resignation of someone who has been gravely ill, and I'm here to support that member, so I thank you.
Next we have Richard Patnode.
Yes. Good evening. I want to thank you for your time. Again, we're speaking in reference to a former senator, one of your council members. This man is very active in this town with the Boy Scouts. He's very active at the Veterans Cemetery. I'm a decorated Marine. This man does the Marine Corps Memorial, had flat feet, never was in the military. That's the kind of person we're dealing with here. He's a dedicated individual. I've known him through the legislation, I've seen his work, and for the people to come forward and do these things that they're trying to impose on that individual is inhumane and unconscionable. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Next is we just Ramsey. Roger, I apologize.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the town council. I'm speaking tonight in reference to the town council member that's not here, that you've already heard such good words to.
I'd like to let you know that I contacted the ACLU today. We had a lengthy discussion. They're very interested in this case. American Civil Liberties Union, and they've informed me about the American Disabilities Act, which I informed them some general information about this, and informed them about these 2 letters that you have officially documented in the town communications that I received today. Specifically calls out the man's name and addresses some very concerning issues about health, and it brings forth information that's protected by the HIPAA laws and the personal private information. So you've got to be very careful on this matter. I'm sure you're already having your lawyer look into it. You've also heard tonight, the gentleman's wife. You can see the feelings and emotions from the folks I've spoken to. So you should take the time and look at the gentleman that wrote this letter right here. Sir,
Wait a minute.
Frank, I can't pronounce his last name, Gojo, wrote some very, concerning information, and it's very disheartening to see this type of information. They write in the best interest of the residents and lack of attendance. As you've heard here, this individual has given much attendance to this town and the state in general. Spent much time. As a war veteran, I appreciated this individual's work. I'm asking once again, you immediately take action on this and make sure that he's afforded reasonable opportunities and reasonable assessment in accordance with the American Disabilities Act here, and to prevent any further discrimination as such. Thank you for your time.
Joe St. Lawrence?
Good evening, Town Council. I'd just like to say, and I know most of it's already been heard, I just think that we need to look at a lot of the people that serve on some of these positions in this town, because I just can't believe that this is happening to a guy who is a former senator, council member, and people are just trying to kick him to the curb. So I think we really need to look at some of these people who call themselves trying to run this town in certain departments, and who can actually write a letter like this to a guy who's been very ill, and was actually getting back on his feet. So I just like to say, I just can't believe that some of the people would go to these extraordinaires to bump a guy like that. Obviously, they don't know Frank and what Frank's all about. So, thank you.
Mike Pacillo?
Good evening, Council. I'm Michael DeSoto. I'm a resident of Exeter, and I also sit on the Rhode Island Central Committee as a delegate with Frank Mon for the town. We represent the town. Now, I see you trying to put a man in position, or you're demanding him to be here. I have a suggestion. Me and Frank are like twins, okay? He's the shorter one, but I could be his proxy vote on the council. I could get the agenda a week in advance. I could meet with him, find out what his mindset is on anything on the agenda, and come here in physical form and represent his vote on the board. I've known Frank for 20 years. He's a very reasonable individual. He's loved by the public, as everybody here in Exeter are showing you. Their hearts are for this man, but if you need an individual to represent him, I would be that, and I would represent him as a delegate for the town. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wishes to speak that did not sign up for public comment? Oh, sorry.
If we're done with the speakers, I'd like to say I've known Frank.
Your name, sir, for the record?
My name's Howard Allen. I was former town council president here. And I just wanted to say something in support of Frank Ma. He's not a thief, he's not a liar. He's as honest as the day is long. He's a very intelligent person, and he loves the town. And it'd be a tough job to replace him with a better man. And that's about all I have to say.
I hate to interrupt, but do you guys have a meeting schedule or anything?
Agenda, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great.
Could I also say something quickly?
Sure. Your name, please?
Sorry, Heidi Eklund. I just wanted to quickly say I'm also from Cedar Grove. I'm here supporting Mary and that we are very concerned about the crime going on and I'd like to see you guys look into it. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? Last call? All right. Moving on, next order of business. The Exeter dog licensing is due annually April 1st through June 1st, is $6. After June 1st, it is $6 plus a $25 late fee per license. They can be obtained here or at the Exeter Animal Shelter. Second item, the 42nd Annual Exeter Memorial Day Parade will be Sunday, May 28th, 2017 at 2 p.m., beginning at the Sunderland Road, down on 102, ending at the Exeter Public Library, also on 102. Are there any other announcements, or, right?
I attended the Exeter Fire District meeting, budget meeting on 12th of April, and the budget had passed. So just so you know, I think it went up, I think it would increase by like 2.83%, like that, so. That's it. Okay, thank you.
Any other? Is there a motion to approve the agenda order?
I'll make a motion to approve the
Second.
Alright. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. Theodore Reynolds. Alright. Any reports anybody would wish to pull?
Could we just remove number 7 and place it at the beginning of our report, section 11, number 11, please? That's the planner's report.
Okay. Any other reports? Next will be communications. Dan, I'll start with you. Calvin?
7, 20, 26, 27, and 28, 32, and 35. And I would actually like to ask, and I'll make it a motion if you prefer, that we add the June number 5 communication. It's dated today, but it's in reference to the matter that's also here in the communication. Instead of this.
Let me try to get up, I didn't discuss that.
I'm just asking if we could move it to this agenda since we have it, and we know it's pertinent to the issue that's just come before us. Okay.
Is there a second to the motion? Hearing none, but both of us failed. 35, right? Any additional communications?
Yep, 2, 10, 11, 31, 34.
And I'll also pull number 7. Oh, you did? Oh, I didn't have it. Sorry. All right. Any minutes we need to approve, close?
March 6th, 1 and 2.
Okay. Motion to approve the consent agenda as amended. I'll make that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And so then moving on to approval of minutes, numbers E1 and 2. The special meeting on March 6th and the special meeting executive session on March 6th. I'll make a motion that we approve those minutes as presented.
Second?
All in favor say aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstained? Number 7, vacancies and appointments. Any new letters for those?
Yeah.
No. All right. Any resignations? Appointments, number 1, juvenile hearing board expiring term. We did have a letter of interest from that. And they did have the opportunity to review one candidate. It was Miss Ashley, Synchrogana, thank you. So I'll make a motion that we do appoint Alicia to that position.
Second?
All right. The letter we have is from the chairman, Frank Herrera, recommending that we do appoint her to that open position. Any further discussion? All-
Thought we did.
Yes, yeah, we thought we, oh, I have my letters confused. All right, I'll withdraw my motion.
Well, I'll withdraw my second.
Right,
I
we-
thought we
yeah.
appointed her last month, but then when. you
Right, then I
moved
missed,
on,
no, I,
Then I
that's why
said, I
letters.
guess we didn't, but.
We had an opening, then we had a second, back-to-back openings. We still have an opening, so. And we received, yeah, we had a couple, that's why. So then I'll make a motion that we, have Laurie, interview for the position with the chair and the board.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Expiring terms, Cynthia Sullivan on the Reynolds Charitable Trust Committee. Her term expires May 24th of this year. Lynn, would you like to reach out to her under the usual protocol? Moving on to number 8, public hearing. Info. No public hearings this evening. New business, personnel and labor negotiations, I'll fill the council in on that in the executive session this evening. Item B is a possible meeting change date. Our July meeting was on July 3rd, the day before the 4th of July. We're considering possibly moving that to July 10th.
I'll move that the regular meeting for the month of July be held on July 10th rather than the 3rd.
I'll second the discussion. Any thoughts on this from the council?
It makes sense for me, makes sense. Thank you for bringing it up.
Well, night before the 4th, people maybe wanted to be, well, I can't, maybe you gentlemen want to be elsewhere. And some people might wish to be with family or have other commitments, so the following Monday, I think will work.
I agree. All right. No further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, the Treasury Department requests to proceed to bid. Maria had asked that we hold off until she gets here this evening on that item. Item D, I do have to recuse myself from discussing this, and if you're,
Item D,
item D.
okay, in the shelter donation fund. So, I guess that's, they want a separate fund.
Where are we talking about that at work session? So we said because of the ordinance being changed, the charter being changed, and anybody makes some donations, the donation would go to this fund, so it goes to the animal shelter. That's why you talked about it.
So we need to create one, is that something we do tonight, or do we have to sit in the work session and do it?
No, Dan, can I suggest, remember Maria was here, and we asked her for accounting purposes if this was something that she would recommend, so can I suggest that we also wait till she comes in? And then we'll talk to her about both items, C and D.
We'll move D till Maria gets here, C and D.
Right,
Please, Kevin.
Okay, Kevin can come
Come
back
back.
now. No, there it
And
is.
then you'll have to explain it. Tell us.
Okay.
You know about that?
Laurie, you can go to the meeting. Okay.
Yeah, when we look
Steve here, going to proceed to chip seal.
You didn't, I didn't see.
We can go ahead and use authorization. I just have one request, when he's gonna be putting stuff out to bid, can we get the specs, bid specs, a week or two before, so we'll get them. Do something, I can just put in my packet.
I'll probably have them this week.
Yeah, because I know you put it out to bid, you give them, what, like 2 weeks to,
We can give you a copy of, this week, we'll give you a copy of that with,
he's just getting the authorization to put it out to bid right now, so, yeah, okay.
and then we're gonna open the bids, I think, maybe
Yeah, whenever they do something public works like that.
I'll make a motion that we proceed to bid on chip sealing,
I'll second.
and now we can discuss it.
Okay, now we're all set.
Okay.
Lynn's got it
Any
under
further
control.
discussion? Oh,
Steve just told me he couldn't make it tonight, so he let me know that.
okay.
But we should vote, he knows what he has to do, he's done this with Kingley, Dan made his request, and it's duly noted by Madam Clerk.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Number F, the solid waste and recycling services agreement. Steve had sent us emails asking that we hold off on discussing this until after around resource recovery, meet on May 16th. So we can discuss this in June.
I'll move that item be moved to the agenda.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next is the Exeter Rural Land Preservation Trust. We did, 2 meetings ago, whatever it was, create that trust.
We have one gentleman from the land trust sitting here.
So I
Come on
think,
up, Joram.
so we do need to appoint a council member to be liaison to the
Yeah,
trust.
he's got one. Did they appoint you the chair, or?
No, I'm not the chair.
Okay.
TJ
I was absent,
Boudreau.
I had to miss it when you guys were getting sworn.
Right, and I missed the last meeting. I'm the clerk for
Okay.
the group. I know we've had 2 meetings, and the last meeting, Rupert Friday from the Rhode Island Land Trust Council came out with the group and kind of gave an introduction.
What nights are you guys meeting?
I believe it's Tuesdays that we've settled on.
Which Tuesday of the month? Is it
I'd
the
have to
first
check.
one?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not. I believe it's the 3rd.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd have to check.
Because I told two of the council members here, I don't have a problem being the liaison, but I do always have a meeting the first Tuesday of the month that I would.
Okay.
So-
Okay, then we get in touch with you.
Yeah, or Lynn, so, yeah. Well, I volunteered.
Okay,
So,
excellent.
they just got to appoint me now.
Okay.
That was my only question, because I have a conflict, it's always the first Tuesday of the month, so.
Sure, sure. So the group's just getting going, and, we met with Rupert last week here, and, we're looking at some other towns with similar land trusts and, seeing what they do, and, just taking it from there. Just getting going.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, no, I was only gonna say I would also volunteer, but you already did, Dan, you spoke first, so.
So I'll make a motion that we appoint Dan to be the Exeter Rural Land Trust Preservation Trust liaison, with regular reporting back to the council.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next is the introduction, consideration, and possible action on amendments to the Exeter Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 6, Juvenile Hearing Board, Sections 2-251 through 2-256. So in your package, you did have a letter from the chair. There's just some language changes they're looking to make on in there. I don't know if we wanted to move this to a work session to review it, or if we want to move it right to a public hearing.
Simple change of words.
A lot of it seems to be they're adding, police, like, or the state police department, or the West Greenwich.
I would move, I read it, and I can understand,
Simple changes.
well, what they're doing is specifying that it's the town or Exeter West Greenwich High School, probably because the building itself is in West Greenwich, but if it's an Exeter resident, and so I can understand, I think that may have caused them, I have no idea, but when I read it,
That's something right.
It
Something-
just seems to me that that's the gist of what they're doing, so I think we could go to a public hearing. I did have just a concern on page, these aren't numbered, but, I think it's the second page, yeah, it is the second page. Just a couple of editorial things. If you look halfway, I don't know if you have it in front of you or anybody, but if you look halfway down the page, and Lynn, do you have your copy? I'm sorry. But there's one place where it says, this requirement shall not apply in the case of a person who, and then these verbs are all singular. So it really should read, in the case of a person who, and then all the
Alright, so
other
it's just a
aspects.
grammatical.
It's just a grammatical issue.
Okay,
It's halfway down the second page.
Page has the omit.
When it says omit that, because
It
now it
reads third
reads,
page.
well, it reads, however, this requirement shall not apply in the case of a person, is my recommendation, just a grammatical issue there.
And get rid of the S.
Get rid of the S and add an A, the letter A. And actually on the first page, all of who, it's just a grammatical issue. On the first page, it says all of whom, because really, whom is the object of the preposition. Sorry, I didn't even teach English, but it jumped out at me. Because if you eliminate the of whom, just say all shall be resident, so it really should have an M on the who.
and on the second page, take out who at number 3.
On the second, you mean the first full page of,
Yeah, the second page, we corrected it, a person.
Right,
Who-
yes, the previous page.
Who has been, who
yeah,
has
no,
been,
who is good, no, who is correct there?
But number 3 says who, again. Who
Well, in the case of a person who has been charged, in this
Has been
case,
charged,
yeah.
has been charged, and who.
But it's the object of has been charged at that point, so it's correct. It's that first page where it should say all of whom,
Oh, right here.
right over
Page
there,
2.
if you
All of
make
whom.
that up.
All right.
But over here, just.
Sorry, I didn't mean to belabor it, but I think we should put it out in the best, and I commend them for trying to make this more viable, because they must have brought in some issues, I can only guess from reading this.
So I'll make, oh, sorry.
No, I go right ahead, Ken.
I'll make a motion that we put this on the June
So
agenda
that clip
for
right
a
there
public
goes
hearing.
in.
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion?
The clip right here.
Hear none, all in favor say aye.
Yeah, yeah.
Mary is here, do we wish to go back to item number C?
Never mind, I'm sorry.
C and D.
Come to
C and D.
us.
But when you get ready to do D, we gotta throw Kevin out again.
Yeah.
Hot. So, the 3 years that the auditors have been here are up, so we have to go out to bid for another 3 years. And we just received the okay from the state, the RFP has to be approved by the state. So we just request to be able to put it in the paper to get other auditors for another 3 years.
So move.
I'll second. And do you have any special request you need from the council for anything, or is it
No, I
just
believe
for?
it's just to be able to post or advertise.
Officially moves you forward, right, in the process, which has been done in a very timely manner in recent years. Thank you, Lynn.
Any further discussion from council? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Alright, motion carries. I'll choose myself again from item number D.
A lot of action going on.
Yeah.
Okay, Maria. Animal shelter donation fund.
Okay. So the discussion was that over the years since the shelter had its own fund, people were accustomed to making sometimes large donations for the animal shelter. So the fear was that once the charter passed, that it came out of its own fund into the general fund, that people would be less likely to put donations forward, thinking it would just go into the general fund and be kind of mixed in with all the other income rather than going directly to the animal shelter. So this idea was put forward to establish, I don't know, a fund. It could even be the capital fund that we might be proposing for the
financial town meeting, that would be obviously so that any, not taxpayer money, but, you know, private people who wish to donate to the animal shelter and let it stay with the animal shelter, meaning used specifically for the animal shelter, not any other project or any other department, could do so. I mean, sometimes it's as much as, you know, $6,000-7,000 in a year. And that was why the idea was put forward.
How would you do it where if there's any unspent money at the end of the year, it doesn't revert to the general fund?
Well, this wouldn't be unspent money, this would be specifically new money, not taxpayer money, so it wouldn't be money generated through the taxes or through any activities of the town. So if somebody comes in and presents a check for $500 and saying, I'd like to donate this to the animal shelter, we would have it'd almost be like the parade fund, or once again, where I think we're gonna try to establish a capital program for the animal shelter that's specifically for the animal shelter. And we could talk about the mechanics of it, if you wanted something completely separate, or it can be put in the capital program, and then it would only be used for the animal shelter. So it wouldn't be any unspent money, it would be like if somebody comes in and donates 500, 200, whatever they wish, and say, just so that it stays with the animal shelter and isn't commingled.
So legally, it's not a problem.
It's not a problem because it's donations. It's almost like the parade, so if somebody comes in and wants to donate $200 for the parade, it goes into a liability fund that is specifically for the parade and to be spent on the parade.
My suggestion is we follow that same procedure, only so that
Yeah, we can
there's
do that.
not a question later on about capital fund and, well, but that was created to tax sale. I would think,
Okay,
if you don't,
we could do that.
if it's not a problem for you as in accounting,
No,
and the auditors don't have a problem with it being a designated fund, my thought would be that it follows that
it would be a
same.
liability account within, so it wouldn't be its own bank account, it wouldn't be its own fund, it would just
It would
be
just
a
be there.
liability account set
You
apart.
can show it.
Yes,
The money's there, but it's not
correct.
in a separate bank account. It's just a separate
On the
account
left.
to be identified.
Is it a nonprofit?
No.
Sorry.
It would be within the town, it would just be set aside specifically for animal shelter.
Do you want to speak to it?
Ray has a question.
That's great.
I was just gonna say, it's another task for you to do,
Uh-huh.
just let them know, you know that, you know that, just the people who know that, so. And talking to the people in the field, down at the animal shelter, they knew that, the fund was abolished, with a vote last year. We no longer have that, the animal shelter fund, so people were reluctant to give a donation to the shelter because they thought it was gonna go into the general fund, back to the general fund, so we discussed that. So to ease that, to squelch that, idea or, approach, it'll go into a special fund just designated for that, like you had said, so.
We don't want to discourage donations for people who want to try to help out the animal shelter, who have a love for the animal.
We have a lot of donors too,
Yeah, we have in the past.
a lot of people.
Would you like a vote tonight to move forward, or would you like to come forward with something and discuss it at a work session, or?
I mean, I think a vote would be fine.
I think we
It-
did address
doesn't
it.
impact
and
the
I
I'm
don't
just
feel
budget.
making sure we
Yeah.
have all our ducks in a row here.
Yeah. You're ready to move,
Yeah,
aren't you? Anna?
absolutely. If we get any donations,
You wanna make that motion then? No?
Jim? That's fine. Yeah.
Do you wanna do it? No?
Okay, yeah, I'll make the motion to, approve the animal shelter donation fund.
Or establish.
Or establish, there you go, establish the, I make a motion to establish the animal shelter donation fund.
I'll second. Any discussion?
No, I think it's a good thing. So, that's all I can say.
I'll second.
Well, yeah, and I think it just, if somebody says, well, is this gonna, in case the heating system breaks down in the town, I mean, that seems like a capital expenditure, but this would be something special for those pets that need whatever.
And people can designate what they wanna do, they can, if they want to, you know.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I forgot why you're doing that, because he left.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. You can go find Karen in the kitchen.
Eating all the groceries.
Yeah.
On back.
See,
Tie game in the second for the Red Sox. Point thanks.
That was why. We can put she's back in the day.
Continuing on, item introduction, consideration, and possible action on the amendment to the Exeter Code of Ordinances, zoning, Article 4, supplementary regulations, Section 4.9, Exeter Farm and Forest Accessory Business Overlay District. We have in our packets a memorandum from the planning board. These are some supplementary zoning stuff to allow ancillary things on farms in Exeter. Actually, they put a lot of work into this. I was thinking we could move this to a work session so we could review it, see if we can make any changes, and then go from there. Bring my thoughts. I mean, it looks like it's pretty well thought out, but just in case council want to make any changes. So I'll make that motion that we move this to a work session.
I'll second.
Would the work section be public?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any discussion?
Well, only discussion in that, actually I had a conversation with a planner at some length this morning. And she said not only has the planning board reviewed it extensively, but so has, their legal counsel, Peter Ruggiero. And so they feel that it's in, that it's in a good place. I know you don't wanna move it forward tonight. I would have suggested that we should, but then I guess if you want a work session and you wanna look at it, I would say at least perhaps we could look ahead and try to have it ready to go to a public hearing in July if we, this is a busy time, that's my only concern with our budget, so forth, whether or not we're gonna have time to look at it, but.
Or if we, I mean, first thing in July, we might not be that bad of a, I mean, obviously there's a big rush to do a lot of this, but.
Well, I mean, apparently a number of people have worked, for quite a long time on it and put a lot of effort in, but if you feel a need that we have to go over it, I have more confidence in the planning board that they already have, but if we can at least look to a July hearing, which would mean that we'd have to address it again in June, and then vote to go to public hearing.
Right.
So if you need a month, if we need a month to look at it, that's what seems like what you're
Yeah.
suggesting.
I prefer to do a work session.
I have a lot of questions on it, Danny can give a lot of insight for being a farm, and a lot of stuff I wasn't sure about.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Before we move on, could
Sure.
I make a suggestion that if we do schedule, if we're able to schedule it for a work session, could we invite someone, the planner or someone to come, so if there are
Absolutely.
questions,
Yeah.
that maybe she could address them, or, I mean,
Yeah,
to me, that would
Scott will
make
show
sense.
up in the work session.
Sure, if I could be made aware, I'd be happy to be there.
But I think that would be helpful, right, because there have to be reasons for it. And
Right.
As I
Planner.
glanced through it, I thought, well, there are some interesting concepts inside here. And I think, I assume they looked at it closely. I know, I've told they have looked at it very closely, and that's my thought. Okay, sorry I'm belaboring it, but thank you.
Next, impact fees ordinance review. Okay. Is there anything we need to?
I think I was waiting for Peter, because actually he had made some suggestions and was going to get specific wording for his suggestions.
There was two things, two parts to this. One was yours and one was moving forward. So I think yours is executive session still, discussion. And when we talked about the work session, the budget meeting, was to go out to bid to find services to update the current plan to meet the needs of the town. And we thought that we may be able to do that using some of the, in the using the financial town meeting, to help pay for it. So we wouldn't put it in the budget, we would just put it as a resolution at the meeting, take it out of the surplus fund.
Okay. Thank you, Ken, you're absolutely right on that.
So if you,
Do we get
we'll just put it as part of it, when we go and vote on, when you go vote on the budget, we really don't make a vote on resolutions to approve them, we just gotta do it. So if you wanna take a vote now to include that as a resolution in the financial town meeting, we could work on that, include it in resolutions, and, start working on that so we can get it done right away for the next fiscal year.
The reason I'll propose a motion to move in that direction is so that we know it will be addressed. And the record of tonight's meeting will show that it's being addressed in the way that you suggested. So I'll move that we create a resolution specifically to look for some assistance in updating and using the surplus funds to do it.
A second. Any other discussion?
I just asked Mr. Solicitor, does that seem to make
That's
sense to
fine,
you?
yes, absolutely.
And then the other issue is the other issue, right? Okay,
The updated revision.
Okay.
thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is the per diem vigilating and hawkers / peddlers / solicitors licenses. So this is if we would apply to, we're looking at, when someone comes in for a 1 day, they bring a food truck, what do we need to license them? So right now, if someone's serving food, they'll do the vigilating license for the year. But do they need like a license for a 1 day, or do they need the peddler's license? What do we, or do we agree to make a new ordinance just for them? That's kind of what we're thinking.
Yeah, if you're trying to do it 1 day, I think you do need you probably would need a new section of the ordinance at least, because I don't believe that's, if you're trying to get around, if they are trying to obviate the need to get a full year license, when it's only gonna be from time to time, I think we do need to spell that out. So,
No, it would just be, again, it'd be in the ordinance.
right.
Because with most of those, it's licensed to an address. This would not be, it would be licensed to the person, they'd be able to,
Well, you would have an address, I suppose it would tell you in advance where it's going to be sold, so you can check out whether the site is appropriate and what the reason is.
This is a daily venue?
oh, it's just the council, sorry.
Okay. No, that's fine.
It would be like a food truck, like the ones that drive around, so they might be in one spot, like maybe they'd be in Oak Harbor 1 day, but then next day they might be at Dunkin' Donuts or something. So we may not be in one spot.
Right.
And we include out-of-town trucks, trucks coming in out-of-town for a 1 day event.
Right, if there was like a, say, a circus or something in town.
Again, we need to,
You might wanna look at North Kingston's ordinance, because they do that in the summertime. When they're in concerts at the beach, they get food trucks that come in.
Narragansett has it too.
Yeah.
you know, like I said, we need to, we need to put it in ordinance form, so you're not seeking to do something tonight.
No,
But
you want to at least get the process started.
Right, for sure. No, it's,
Okay, so I'm gonna work with Lynn, draft up what meets the
See,
needs.
yeah, see what Kingstown and Narragansett have, and
Yeah.
so we can start.
Yeah, 'cause that's something they started doing last year. I noticed down at Town Beach on Wednesday night, now they have like 4 or 5 food trucks on it.
it can be a subset or an addition or an amendment to our existing ordinance, correct? So that it can address those kinds of licenses. Because did you have a question from someone in town, like a library or something? They want to know if they can have
Well, they wanna
somebody,
have their event at Yagu for the
Right.
annual fall festival.
and they want to
And
know.
they wanna bring in some out-of-town trucks, just for that 1 day. They wanted to know if our trucks could park there.
Mhm.
They wanna know if some of our restaurants could set up a table there.
Right. But, so it looks like we're in the right direction. So,
Something that Lynn could have approved,
oh,
because it takes a month, you know. We could write something.
We could
Oh,
write
you
in
can write it
that
so
if
that-
they have certain help, she could approve that.
Or if they have a license from another town or something.
Right.
so-
it's possible, and we need to take a look at it. To review it.
should we move this then to unfinished business this item for next month? Does that
I'll
make
make that motion.
sense?
I'll make that motion. We move
One
to
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to unfinished business. Hey, historic preservation and historic cemeteries, Ken.
Other than
Sweet. Item D, IT service contract with Kingstown. All right. Item C,
The,
request from the EMA director regarding the approval of memorandum of understanding. Stefan, do you have anything new?
There's, I'm actually meeting with the engineer. All the communities in Washington County, with the exception of Exeter, approved the debris management plan. I need to sit with him to ensure that we still have that promulgation comment that I need to work out with Jim, and then the accepting portion of it. But once these two small portions are completed, there'll be a detailed debris management plan that will include us as far as how debris will be managed throughout the county in the event of an emergency, whether we're gonna be sending it out or it would be coming to us. And that's something I worked with Steve on. It's a question of just having the opportunity to sit down with this engineer and speak with him regarding the document. So I would ask if we could just keep it as a line item, and I appreciate the patience of the council with it.
Okay. Will do. Item D, transfer station committee.
Well, we got a letter in a packet, so if we're gonna be discussing that tonight or not, we'd like to say.
You talking about the small letter?
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
That's all I have for that.
Okay.
Like Kenny, nothing else.
we have a report.
We
Yeah,
have
but
a
the
Full
letter-
report and a small letter.
They have, you have that, you guys have that, yeah.
All right. Anything new on Chisholm?
Not for Exeter, but during this past month, a little bit of a some troubling news regarding the project. And all I will say is that according to the executive director of Washington County Regional Planning, Jeff Broadhead, he has told us that there was a bill submitted, and I don't know of its status, and I haven't heard any more, but there was a bill submitted by on behalf of Line Workers Union to undo pieces of the municipal streetlights investment act. And his comment is, if that bill were made law, it would make the act, or he calls it, worthless, and prevent our eyes, towns and cities from saving millions, because they want to not be taken away from the service element of the streetlights. The concept, I mean, we haven't addressed it here, it doesn't apply, well, it does maybe for, if we ever move to red light, bridges, but that's just a kind of an overview, and he cited some figures for what Providence and others may lose. But just keep in mind, this was supposed to be a funding source for Washington County, so I don't have any more update on that. However, I'll tell you later, but we are supposed to meet in a couple of weeks, so I'm sure that we'll get an update. That's it for now, Kevin.
Okay. F, introduction, consideration, and possible action on the administrative policy governing certain standards of conduct for town officers, employees, and members of town boards and commissions.
Well, since the time we worked on that, the last work session, I received 3 more sets of comments, so it was good that we didn't go forward, but we'll put it on, summarize comments and put it to a work session.
Okay. No update on item G, which is the Kingstown Preserve at Rolling Greens. Moving into number 11, which we wanted to pull the report from the town.
From the planner.
Correct.
I did, and only because we had addressed this last month, and so I hope you all saw the reports that we were given, well, 3-page report by Ashley Sweet, the town planner. And it's informative, and be sure you take a minute to look through it, because, well, more than a minute, because she has cited plans that have been approved by the planning board, moving ahead, some development issues that they're moving on, others that are on hold. And it's just, I just wanted to ask the record, for the record, to make a note that we did receive a 3-page report dated April 27th from the planner. And there's no other place really but here to address the 4 paragraphs that we received regarding the comprehensive plan. So it's clear that that work's being done. And you all saw this report, you may not have had a chance to read it, but could the record just indicate that we did have a report dated April 24th regarding the plan?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to number 11A, Public Works Department Liaison, Ray?
I don't use the daytimer anymore, I use everything on the phone. Maybe that's a bad thing. Well, the Department of Public Works, the sweeping is, two-thirds complete. The catch basin cleaning is 3/4 complete. And mulch was delivered today for the playground, and we spread tomorrow, weather permitting. The transfer station is doing good, we've been down there. Guys work hard down there, they have a good operation, nice flow of traffic. And the animal shelter, they had painted a mural, and had an artist come in from URI, and she volunteered her time, I think on the weekend, and she painted a mural of like a tree and the birds inside of the outside dog pens, and she labeled them by letters, and she drew ants, bee was a little bee. So if you get down there, you can ask the attendants that work down there, or the animal control officer, to show you around. They did a lot of painting inside. It was through the Friends of the Exeter Animals. And right now we have 3 dogs. We have 2 Chihuahua type dogs, and we also have a friendly, happy-go-lucky pit bull, Joey. And we have 12 cats right now, and we have a litter of 5 kittens. I saw them on Sunday, so very young kittens, so that's for that.
Ray, you like that mural, didn't you? Because you shared it.
Fantastic job. If you go down there, you know, just look at it. It's the outside pens that face the street. I know they have a chain link fence up, and sometimes they'll put a cover down in the winter. But if you look in there, you can see her artistry. She did a wonderful job and volunteered. And then had some other folks had painted inside where the dogs are. And then on the back side, there's also pens in the back. So, really nice job. It looks good down there. It looks good. Okay, Kevin, I'm done.
Thank you. Next, we have the Tax Collectors Liaison Report. Our report, we have collections for the month of April were $182,155.06. There are down to 2 properties left on the tax sale list. And also the DMV's new computer program system will be going online July 5th of this year.
Before you move on, I need to comment on that, because there's one more statement that follows the report. They will no longer allow the collectors to pick up the registration renewals, and I know people have asked all of us about why registration online has not been permitted or allowed here. And she's done this, as we discussed before, to try to make sure that those who are delinquent are caught up and paid, so that those of us who do, you know, it's a fair and equitable situation. But don't you read this? The DMV new computer system will be on July 5th. Is it a little scary based on what we hear? I mean, we know that Kim has worked with, as part of a study group, a consulting group, and let's hope that they're ready to go. I like it's what it is, so let's hope it works. I know she hopes it works. I think we all hope it works, because the stories that we hear emanating from state computer efforts. Anybody else find them unsettling? I do. Okay, that's all. Thank you, Kevin.
Next is the Exeter Spring School District. They did have the all-day referendum on April 10th, and the budget did pass. It's the Tax Assessor's Office Liaison Report. Cal?
Well, a couple things, and you do have Carrie's report. I just wanted to highlight that she tells us 890 applications have come into her office for a variety of exemptions for which people are entitled, and she just wants us to know that she's at 890, and her new clerk, her assistant, part-time clerk, seems to be kept quite busy with all of that. The other thing that I noticed here is that she speaks about the tax maps, and this just came to my attention a couple of weeks ago when somebody was looking for something, and the maps that are in here are in the process of being updated. So what's in here is good through 2015, but what's moving, now they're moving ahead with new maps that will be inclusive of 2016. So just the people go in there looking for a change, this past year, they won't see it on those maps. But they'll find it in the vault. All they have to do is make inquiries, and they'll find it. And note that she only has one abatement this month, which is for a Soldiers and Sailors Relief Act. So she's moving just those things forward. Thank you.
Would you like to continue on with the Exeter Job Corps?
Sure. I have a few pieces of information to share with you. The next graduation will be a week from next Saturday, 11 o'clock. I don't know how many, but how many young people will be graduating, but some of them will be moving on to positions. One thing that is stated here is, and I mentioned this before, but I think it's worth mentioning again, there's a prioritization of hiring partnership with EV electrical for the welding students, and is in the future machinist students as well, so that the instruction that they're receiving, Job Corps is going to prepare them for immediate entry into the workforce, which I think is a pretty good thing. And one of the teams from the entered the National Pro Start competition that was held this past weekend in Charleston. It would be nice to think that they might have come away with some honors, but just the fact that they made it that far into national competition with other centers across the country is pretty significant. And a couple other items, but I think those are the most important ones.
Continuing on with the Regional Planning Council?
Well, as I mentioned a minute ago, we are scheduled for our second meeting since the new group of representatives has been seated, and that's scheduled for 2 weeks from tomorrow. So I'm hoping the next time you meet, there'll be something I can share.
Okay. Dan, Public Safety, Disaster Preparedness.
Let's see, I got Stefan here. Does Stefan have anything he wants to say? Sitting here patiently.
I could talk all night if you want. I won't do that. I'll hold off the state police issue when that comes up. We had as a result of the search and rescue, of the search and recovery in November last year, we put in a protocol in place with West Greenwich. We had the opportunity to test it successfully the other night, which we found a missing biker outside of a big reservoir, although that's outside of Exeter's premier. When a search like this now is going to ensue, we will be working together, both emergency management agencies, through our mapping efforts, directing the teams to find missing personnel, and it's worked successfully. A number of members of the community have approached us, and we are trying to put together a protocol to deal just with Arcadia and how we can deal with spontaneous volunteers. And that is actually developed into, and with President McGovern's help, in the middle of this month, we are actually we're sponsoring a joint training session with the Rhode Island State Police, Task Force 2, West Greenwich Fire, Oneco Fire, and a number of other state agencies on a computerized mapping program that we're going to be utilizing here within Exeter. It'll also be something that'll be generated on our town website So if a person comes into our community and they're unfamiliar with Arcadia, they can actually download maps from the website. We'll have key locators on there for them in the event that they get lost. But more importantly, our first responders will be able to utilize them and download them directly to their smartphones, which will geo-reference them to a person's location. So that training will be, an all-day training session will be conducted on May 13th. So our efforts are moving forward there with them substantially. It's been working out well. I wanted to publicly thank Patty Whitford. She's been helping us with her upgrades with the E911 database. We are now putting together a cyber attack protocol, and part of that's going to be for backup 911 emergencies. 2 weeks ago, an issue occurred with 911 that was exaggerated well beyond what it actually had occurred. There was an interruption at the operations, but it did not affect 911 service at all. It was misreported. But regardless, it's a wake-up call that the systems are still, they're not infallible. And Patty's efforts are working with the new communications supervisor next door. We're gonna have everything basically back down on paper. It seems, it would seem that it would just be a standard type of thing, but with technology, people have been relying so much on it. We just want to make sure that we get back to basics and we have that in the event of. And through the efforts of the community at the fire district meeting, we now have backup communication system already in place. So if I went over there and pulled the plugs on the phones right now and somebody dialed 911, it's not going to be an issue. The information will get out and our services will be dispatched accordingly. We are working with the Exeter West Greenwich School District, and we have now taken on an intern for the senior project as a junior who will be working with me for the next year, working on our threat hazard identification risk assessment program and new hazard mitigation update. Because I need somebody to help me along those lines, along with my committee, which we have 4 active projects that are going on now. We're up for our 3-year review of emergency operations plan. So as soon as the budget season's done, I'll be working with the specific agencies to update their protocols. There's a new generator at the Exeter West Greenwich High School, which now is going to put us in a position where we can regionalize a shelter. So when I have the opportunity to put together a plan with West Greenwich and approach the school committee regarding that, we want to assist in their efforts by having that generator there in the form of providing a revenue source to support that effort. And if we could do that by way of American Red Cross certified shelter, it might be a way of helping sustain that. And now as a result, all of the schools, with the exception of one, have generators on them, and both of them, 2 of them are in Exeter. So I'm very pleased to hear about that, and it was excellent news to hear from the superintendent regarding that. And aside from that, we've been working very closely with the state police on other matters regardless of the situation that's coming up as of late, which I've been in personal discussion with President McGovern on. And aside from that, unless you had any other questions, that's really about it in a nutshell, other than, again, I can't reiterate enough the help that Maria, Patty, and Lynn have given me over the past couple of months. I swear I couldn't be here in a couple of meetings, but work is work. So I didn't know if you had any questions regarding that.
Do you have a question, sir?
Oh, actually,
Yes.
yes. Yes,
I do.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh.
Was that Ray was gonna go for it? I didn't see it at the end of the
Okay.
council.
Do you think the 911 situation, do you think that was fake news?
No, no.
You know, I might say that because fake news is a part of like psychological warfare.
Well, something occurred, but it's just that, it just got stretched out. It's just, I just want to be prepared for if something like that were to happen, and it didn't get to that level. I just want to make sure that we're just not caught. So.
I know you did suggest, and I think this email probably went out to cadre, or your huge mailing list, but you did suggest that we all make note of the direct line to dispatch.
Absolutely.
And I, for one, took my cell phone and did that, just, I know we all dial 911, but
It's
in
as
case,
funny as it sounds, you can actually be put on hold at 911.
see, I've never had to do it, thank
Yeah,
God,
but- And a lot of people don't realize that they have minimal staff up there as well. And if the circuits get overloaded for whatever reason, we have backup lines here that, in the old community phone books, it used to be listed in the front. You can't find that anymore.
Can't find a
So-
phone book anymore.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what, and I will get to you in a second. There was an issue regarding the Money Swamp Dam. That has been since addressed. It's a minor issue. The owners are trying to do landscaping there and do maintenance, and as a result, they cut back the trees. But because they did, now you can see the dam more prevalently from New London Turnpike than you could before. So with the heavy rains that we've been getting and the beavers, those beavers are driving me insane. There's been some overflow. The dam was reported to me that it was collapsing, and we quickly were able to squash the possibility of fake news getting out regarding that. But it's the importance of just making sure that we try to do our best to stay on top of it. But there isn't a concern. And if there has been, I've spoken with the engineers. In fact, we're working with the dam owners to put together emergency action plans regardless of the size of them to update what they currently have, so we'll have them on file here with the town. And your question, Mr. McFadden, I'm sorry, if it's...
I'll sit to proceed. I want to make sure that Exeter residents have access in the case of an emergency to the Exeter West Greenwich High School, which is in West Greenwich. In other words, I wouldn't want there to be confusion that we are excluded from that because it's in West Greenwich and we have our own emergency facility in Exeter. And the reason I say that, the facilities at the high school are far more extensive than the facilities, say, at Wallalone, right? So I just wanted to make sure that clarification somehow in your discussions.
Oh, absolutely, and Mr. McFadden brings up a really good point, and you may not be aware of this. The Exeter West Greenwich has a regional emergency management agency. As a result, the high school would seem to be the most centralized location between the two communities to assist in the event that we needed to open up a shelter. The problem is, to have a shelter, you need certain requirements. So in every emergency plan right now, the school is listed as a personal care center. And the difference is that if they want to come and charge up their phones, if they just want to leave their homes for the day, say if it's an inclement weather situation, because we have made arrangements with National Grid to make all of Route 3 and that portion of 102 going up to Rhode Island DMAT a Tier 1 area, which means in the event of a power outage, that area will get top priority. In every single storm, the longest that the power has been out has been 15 minutes. So now the rest of the community will suffer accordingly because of the nature of the town as it stands, but we do not have an official shelter. Now we have areas where we can place people, but that would tax our resources to bring into the community, and that requires a lot more effort on our end. Now with the high school in the position they're in, Exeter and West Greenwich will be able to position ourselves for to bring in more resources, and it's something that we want to sit down with the school committee because we have a couple ideas regarding that, because our communities are volunteer, both communities are, and we have a limited number of people to choose from or to pick from in the event of emergency. And we actually have an idea to put together a program to make our citizens more functional in the event of a disaster, to take care of those spontaneous volunteers, to give them something to do. And just as a for instance, I'll end it. In November, when we had that search, we had 200 spontaneous volunteers show up at the DEM headquarters. 75 of them were disqualified from going into the woods because they had walkers, they had canes, people showed up in high heels. And I never want to be in a position to turn somebody away, because there's always something for somebody to do. But in that situation, the wrong message was put up, and we weren't involved in that. We weren't involved in that
Can I
messaging,
ask a
however it
question?
happened.
No, we
No,
continue on.
okay,
So-
yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
fine,
but-
I'll talk to him
Thank you.
That's the fine.
So that's all.
Kevin, before you move on, can I just make one comment regarding the report? Because if you notice, it also does speak to town sergeant, constable, liaison report, and so forth. And this morning, I had a conversation with Town Sergeant Richard Brown, and he was concerned that people need to know that he or Scott Miller, they drive through areas, they do look, and I'm not saying this to be dismissive of any of the concerns we've heard here or expressed in the young lady's letter, but it's a presence. It's obviously not, it doesn't prevent every issue, but he spoke to me, and I know that he does this, and he spoke about a number of houses where he's doing checks. People have asked him, actually in the Cedar Grove area, and perhaps across the street too, I'm not sure, but he did say there were 6 or 7 that he's actually doing house checks because that's been requested. He can't be at every corner all day, no one can. But he just wanted me to share so that people understand he's doing what he can to be out there as a presence. But again, I'm not trying to dismiss any of the concerns that are expressed here tonight, because they are legitimate concerns.
And that was actually a comment that was going to be made when that comes up for question, for the communication, so.
All right. Moving on, Exeter Public Library Liaison, I have no report at this time for the library. Ken?
Other than I'll be back in this Thursday, and then the following Monday for our budget and the public hearing on the budget is next Wednesday at 7 o'clock at the town library. Everything else is moving along.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Solicitor, your report?
A couple of items, in the Zorella case, the briefs are in the Supreme Court, and we're just awaiting a word from them as to whether or not they're just gonna issue a decision or require oral argument, so we can know that in the future. There's a new zoning appeal that's been filed, you've probably seen that, it's a Kalati case. It's the very beginning stages, so there's been an appeal which we've answered. And I've got a couple of matters to discuss in the session that are already on the agenda.
Thank you. Number 12, the bills, appropriation abatements. I'll make a motion that we approve the bill sheet as presented.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And then we did have one abatement.
One abatement.
All right, so I'll move that we approve the tax assessor's abatement.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Lastly, the tax collector's remittances and abatements. I'll make a motion that we approve those.
I'll second. And I just want to make a comment, because we want to say that, if somebody's out here looking at this, what are the remittances? Every one of them is for an overpayment, where payments have been made, just so that you know that when we say it's a remittance, it's money that was brought in, money that has to be returned. Some of it's mortgage overpayment, some of it's motor vehicle overpayments. You made a motion for both, didn't you, abatements as well?
I did.
You know, those are for, just for the public's information. One is a party who's deceased, can't be collected, and another is for a business that is out of business, so officially. Those are the reasons that many of these surface. Thanks, Kevin.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next, we have any other administrative issues? Any issues, Congress? All right, moving on to communications. All right. First, we have number 13.
Get number
Oh,
seven.
sorry, number 7.
And two,
Number 2, sorry, number 2 was first. Who pulled that?
I did.
All right, yours discussed.
Rhode Island Public Works Association is having a show, a construction and equipment show. So if you're in that kind of business, you don't have to be in Public Works to attend the show. And it's gonna be at the Crown Plaza on May 31st. Seems like a long way away, but it's not. From 9 in the morning to 5 at night. So if anybody's interested in going, I have some tickets that Steve, our Public Works Director, gave me. And you can, if you're in that business, you can put your business card on the ticket and to advertise, free advertising for your business, so I think it's a pretty good thing. So if you're interested in going to an event like this, to see equipment and new ideas and how other municipalities function, it's open if you'd like to go. I just want to let you know that.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Number 7, letter from Mary Zick. Shoot. Regarding the pair of crimes, Stefano, I know you said you had some information around the state police.
Yes,
You wanna share that with us?
So, for the members of the audience who don't know me, I'm the Emergency Management Director for the town. This kind of fell in my lap in the sense that, to make a physical connection between law enforcement and the residents in the community. First and foremost, there were incidents in Cedar Grove. Neither of them were home invasions. They were burglaries. They were, and I don't want to lessen the crime because it's coming into a more populated area. And I've had the opportunity to get to know and to speak to both sergeants. Exeter Patrol, which was next door, the previous administration had provided a trooper for us that was going to be available Monday through Friday. The problem was, through mandatory retirements, through unexpected retirements, the state police have now dropped well below their minimum manning levels. This corporal that we were dealing with here got promoted and he's now the sergeant of Hope Valley Barracks. The corporal that was promoted received another promotion within 2 weeks and now he's in charge of the Wickford Barracks. Sergeant Vanner, I speak to him on a regular basis. He's our Hope Valley barracks person. Exeter is split into 2 districts. And they understand the concerns of the residents. They're wholeheartedly concerned about it. The one thing that was a little disturbing about the letter, and it was read here tonight, and I think it was misconstrued, is that the state police are only going to respond after a crime was committed. I brought that to a regular police department, they couldn't understand it. They're not trying to lessen it, and they're trying to make themselves as available as possible, but they are not treating the residents in Exeter any differently than they would if they were just going about their regular duties. What Sergeant Vanner is going to find out from his captain and the colonel is to find out what their intention is with Exeter, but right now they've got to firm up. And you may...
Question, is
Please.
Steve Vayner back in Hope Valley from Lincoln?
Yes, he is there. He's going to be there, as he put it, for a very long time.
John Gadroth, the sergeant of Hope Valley, they move him there or move him back to where?
No, John Gadro was corporal here. They promoted him to sergeant. He's at Wickford
He's
now.
at Wickford, okay. Because I know they just mandatory retirement at the end of March, they've lost a lot of people.
They lost a lot of
And
people.
they're shuffling them all around. I was in there
Exactly.
today, and it's another whole new round of faces again.
Exactly.
So,
But, so in speaking with him, we've been putting together, I know people wanted statistics. Now, they can break them out, but the problem is they have to combine them because they're treating Exeter as one community. And between 2015 and 2016, the number of incidents that have occurred in town just to have a state police presence have gone from 489 up to 612.
the number of accidents, or excuse me, arrests that they've had have gone from 155 and they've dropped to 139 as of last year. Auto accidents, they move troopers in to do what they can. That has been just a 6% change. It has been an increase. And the total amount of citations that they've issued have been close to 1,700 last year. And they're, in 2015, and there were 1,300 in 2016. Now, half of those are related to Route 95 incidents as well. Obviously, their immediate concern is, and the drop is immediately due to the manpower issue of them dropping down. We don't have a police department. However, right now, the community is and I want to use this term loosely, enjoying the fact that our law enforcement presence that's here is not something that we are paying for. When the colonel had come here in July and made that presentation about wanting to put 3 troopers here, unfortunately, the major was put on the spot, and I believe if he gave us more appropriate statistical data at that time, because he threw out a very random, very large dollar amount that would be the town's fee in order to pay for 1.5 of those troopers. It wasn't fiscally responsible to talk about it then because we were already finished and we're starting our new budget year. But at the end of the day, there are only 3 options. Either ensure that we pay for troopers to be here, we somehow merge or send somebody to an academy and have supporting police departments work with our patrolmen that would be here, or lastly, start our own police department altogether. All of which, right now, they're going to be a substantial amount of financial support on our part. But they are doing the best that they can. The troopers that have been coming out here have been doing the best to introduce themselves with us. As of the beginning tonight, there were 4 state police operations that are occurring in town right now where there are troopers, so they are here. The only way that I would think that we can go beyond what we've been doing, and I hate to say behind the scenes, is we've been putting out messaging the best we can through the email list. Short of posting these statistics and going back and verifying, because I've been trying to keep up with them, and this home evasion issue was a huge problem, because that's one that slipped by, but I found out it wasn't me, and I found out it wasn't the agency hiding information from us. It was just somehow something got dropped. But we want to get the right information out there, and they also made it an absolute point, they being the state police, saying that having Scout and the sergeant in the town and doing what they're doing is an absolute asset that if everybody could sign up and do it. But, just as you said, Mr. Ellis, is that they can't be everywhere all the time. And we can only look at statistical trends and try to point in the assets where they're needed. But I'm leery about posting information on our website because I don't want to cause undue panic, other than the message being out there that we need to take care of our homes, make sure our windows are secure, do what we need to do, or have what we call situational awareness. And I would be willing to sit down, schedule something. We were going to try to do this in the fall up at the library to bring in the citizens to sit down and talk with the police, to learn about different techniques in protecting their property, just the little things that you could do.
A public forum on safety, and I know we kept it on the agenda, didn't we, Kevin, for a while, but now we moved toward the budget and time, and it didn't happen, but, it's always been, recently been something I thought might be worthwhile to get people.
I agree.
The thing, the issue that has been forefront for me for a number of years because I was sitting where Kevin is years back when we tried to approach a contract concept, and we did, and we brought it forward, and I don't know if you were here yet, but it
was prior to me being
Yeah,
there.
it didn't carry at the financial town meeting, but I guess my question after all you've just told us is whether or not you think there's any risks, any concept, any issue of receiving on the state police end the idea of a contract of some kind so that we do pay something for them to be, I mean, if there's no one to send other than the ones, then there's no point in reaching out, but do you think there's any, that's the first option that you
Right.
spoke of the three?
Exactly.
Just want to make a comment here, Calvin. Look, I know him very well. As you said, Gaffer was in Wickford.
He's in work
And
right now, yeah.
Steve is back at Hope
Steve's
Valley.
in Hope Valley, that's correct.
I'll give Steve a call. And I know from past experience, the sergeants on the desk try and have a minimum of one car in Exeter during the day. When they can, they'll throw two.
Yeah, and I don't mean to diminish that, I think that's very significant.
And I think it's important as well too, but I didn't want to speak out of turn, and I certainly didn't want to start a negotiation and say, well, the council told us to sit down and talk with you.
Yeah,
So I
so
stopped
ultimately,
it.
like, when you do have state police, I think that's the message I think we wanted to get to the residents, like, we do have them in town, so.
They are here, they're very low key, you don't see them, you don't even see them putting their reports in the newspaper. And, like I said, they like to operate under the wire.
But as far as the statistics, I know that every community that has a local police department provides them. If there's a way that we can do it,
When was the last time that they came before us, the colonel came, it was.
that was
too late.
Joe, that was actually of the August meeting, I believe.
Because Lieutenant Rosa was still there, he had the statistics for us in like a week, they had it broken down just for Exeter.
I got them in 45 minutes. It was a question of, but they're rough estimates, so there's
Yeah, they had it
five.
printed out for us the last.
But I would love to make those available, but I'd like to present them in an appropriate forum where they're delivered to everyone and not just to people on my email list. The website might be a good idea, but again, that's something I'd rather work directly with them on, any law enforcement component.
I was gonna say, I hate to interrupt, but just think, could we have talk more offline on it too?
Absolutely.
Sure.
I'm sorry, what did you
Let's
just
just
say?
talk offline, so at the council meeting regarding inputting of the numbers.
Oh,
Yeah, as far as the numbers, yeah.
you know, what concerns me about, and you've expressed your concern about not creating alarm and having people think that crime is raging here, is that for me, I would say the answer, you already said what the third option is. If you've got significant crime problems in town, that's why towns create police departments, but you also said, as we all know, that's a huge expense. If there's a way to continue to have the kind of service that Dan suggested we have, you've suggested we have, you said there are 4 state troopers responding to issues in town?
Well, that were here as of the start of the meeting, but they also said, if there's an accident at exit 10 and it happens to be a fatality, there are no troopers in Exeter, so
It's a priority issue.
it's one of those situations. But I just wanted to make sure that if anybody had any questions regarding that, especially because it was a specific communication, that I just didn't want to make it sound like that we weren't taking this seriously, or that we weren't addressing it.
I've had this discussion with some of the troopers numerous times, and my feeling is half these small towns don't need a police department. Hire another 150 troopers and get rid of all the small ones.
I can't speak to that.
Because the one that really kills me is Situate, with the state police headquarters there.
Right.
The town is equal.
So,
But I've worked in other states and see how it works in other states, so.
All right, so moving on to communication number 10. Ray, I believe you pulled that one as well.
I did. That was the cycling event, right? The Welcome House Metric Century Cycling fundraiser. Is that, they have to go through us with that?
they did.
Or we just make sure we've got our bases covered as far as Stefan and Richard?
It's, we make copies to the town side and dispatch, rescue, fire, staff, and
I'm actively working with all the event coordinators for every one of the bike runs to make sure everything's mapped out for our rescues.
That's 10, 11, and 34. 10, 11, and 34.
All set?
Yeah, we'll, as long as there's no objection to those races coming through town, we'll, sign the DOT permits.
Okay.
Forward them on.
Thank you. Number 13, Calvin, you pulled that one? I'm sorry, Dan, you
I
pulled
don't,
that one.
I don't think I had it.
This is the resolution, I think we need to back this one up. This is in support of the full funding of the transportation for school again for the school busing?
But we already adopted.
Yeah, we already did that one, didn't we? Yeah, we did that.
We already
Okay.
adopted that.
Yeah, we did that. We were ahead of them, okay.
Okay. Number 20, Cal, that was yours?
It was, and let me just address 20 and 28 together because they both address the same issue of bills that are pending at the state legislature regarding subdivision of land and planning board, the process of approving proposals that come before them. And I don't see it articulated in these resolutions, but I read somewhere that the purpose of those bills was to minimize the amount of time that planning boards have to address plans that come before them. And there's an articulation here from East Greenwich and Charlestown that speaks to in some cases, the need for engineers and other kind of studies that are to be done, research that needs to be done. And these two towns are opposing that legislation. We haven't heard from our planning board, but I would suggest that it's getting late now in the session, so it may be a moot point, but I don't think we can do it tonight, but I'm concerned. I can understand their concern. I don't know that we can do anything. I just want to highlight.
We put this on the June agenda, we still have time before the end of the session, which might be heard.
Yeah, as I said, we haven't heard from our planning board, but I'd be curious to know if they, I think they probably think it's a little bit of a crippling or chilling effect. But I would propose that we put this on our June agenda, and the issue of a resolution opposing this legislation. But I'd also ask that we communicate that to the planning board and ask if they can opine and give us some thoughts as to whether or not they feel it's worth our while if they oppose the legislation. Sorry, that's kind of an involved motion, but you get the gist. You can cut it down, can't you, Len?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Kevin.
Is there any further discussion of the motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Next, we have number 26. Cal, I believe you pulled that.
I did, it sort of, just as a point of information, in the Arcadia management area, the bridges, a bridge, Fall Over Bridge is being replaced, the Plain Road is gonna be closed. But I think the people from 6 AM Monday, May 8th, will reopen midnight Friday, May 12th. This is Plain Road. I don't travel Plain Road, and I doubt there's anyone here tonight who does, but just, I hope that everybody knows.
The bridge, I think it's a cow path.
This is our notice of the DOT, so it intrigued me, and I thought, well, maybe as a public outlet, where is it?
I was gonna pull out.
You were.
See?
See, if Steve were here, we'd say, where is this, Steve? But it may be on
It's
state
accessible by
property.
dirt bike or horse.
Well, then I don't think if that's the case, let's just move right on.
Actually, both those areas are gonna be requiring,
Beg your pardon?
both those areas in question, I've spoken with Chief Franklin, it's going to be touching the roadways. We are gonna be
It's going to be,
touching the roadways. Their construction is going to be affecting those areas, and we've already been in contact with the mutual aid departments to make sure that rescue and fire is not interrupted in the event, so.
so it's more than just dirt bikes there, or, I don't know.
Just a little bit.
It's
I
a
think
very rough road.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
All right. We got number 27. Kyle, you also pulled.
Well, I did, and Kevin, you probably would have been concerned about this and are, I assume, because the library, Friends of the Library wants to use the lot out here as they have before. And I just noticed that, at the end, I think we would like to request confirmation from the council regarding the use of the grounds.
Last year you had them set up on the whole school lawn because of the traffic,
Okay.
you know, on parking lot safety.
I just thought we should respond to the Friends. I know they work hard to raise some extra money for, to support library initiatives. So, well, for discussion, I'll make a motion that we allow the Friends of the Exeter Library to use the town hall lot facility, hall school in particular. They may need to use the lot here for something, for parking or whatever. And that we grant them that permission, recognize they have that use.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any further discussion on that?
Can you can clear that, make that motion so that it's to set up as they did last year, the whole school grounds. It worked for them, didn't it, as far as you know?
Yeah.
It seems like that's all they need. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, 28's already been discussed. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, number 20 has already been discussed. Next I have number 32. The letter to the council president regarding, from the Exeter Democratic Committee regarding the absence of a town council member. After speaking with the solicitor, I think this would be an item we should discuss in an executive session at a later date, in which case we should write a letter to the missing member. That was the recommendation from our solicitor. So my motion is that we do hold that executive session at a later date.
That covers correspondence 31 that someone pulled.
I pull that.
And it would
That's
also
okay,
cover
go right
31,
ahead.
sorry. So that's my motion. Is there a second?
Well, I'll second. Just under discussion, I have no problem with it being discussed, as you recommended. But I was concerned that there, and I'm concerned about Frank's health, we all are, we've been asking, I've been asking. And we've not had any, until tonight, we've not had someone approach us the way Mrs. Ma did. And thank you for letting us know that he's improving, and that's a good thing to know.
He's coming home this week.
I'm sorry?
He's coming home this week.
This
Wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. I'm very glad, we're all very glad to hear that. This particular letter only did not ask that he be removed. It only asked that an assessment of his situation be made. So now we've done it, and I appreciate it, and I wish him well. So would you pass that on? Because it does not say, I don't know if you saw the letter, it doesn't ask that he be dismissed at all. It just asks that there be some attention to his absence.
We're not calling the public at this time, sir. Is there any further discussion from the council?
Thank you, Chairman.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that concludes our community.
No, 34.
Oh, I checked them off already. Well, no, because you said they covered it earlier when you said the,
That was 35.
no, I thought we said the 24. Like this.
34 is all done?
35 is all done. 35 is all done. It was the juvenile hearing previously discussed.
Yeah, 34 was discussed?
Yeah, we float them all together.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So at this time,
I'll do my cheat thing.
I'll make a motion that we go into executive session under items B, H,
Transfer station?
transfer station F, E, F, H.
What are you doing?
Good. I remember
Okay, so E, F, and H.
Pardon?
Is there a second?
My name's Stefan
All in favor, say aye.
Kudelakis, I'm the Management Director.
Yeah, well, thank you for your response.